Hi friends, so Hi friends, so I kind of basically made Mecha Mewtwo's helmet. So it looks like this right now. Wow. I have the LEDs charging. They may not be charged, I don't know. I started making this in August. And then I took quite a few months off, and then I picked it back up like a week ago, and I have this now. So don't know if I like the visor. Like, I like the visor, like it's amazing, but I can't see out of it, and especially with the LEDs on, I can't see shit. I'm not gonna be able to walk anywhere. I can't walk on stage with this. So yeah, I can't see anything, so it's not like permanently in there right now, like it's just kind of taped in. But real quick, I am going to show you the LEDs and everything. I have my LED strip, and then that is connected to this little Adafruit trinket. I just have the wires like twisted around each other with some shrink tubing around it because we did not want to do anything permanent because this is probably not going to be the permanent setup for this. And then we have that hooked to a power boost. So what we need to do is take the USB, plug in, well, let's unplug the battery first. I'm gonna plug in the USB from the power boost, and then we're gonna plug it into the trinket. Wow, it's so bright. So I just kind of like tuck everything into the back of the helmet right now. And then, oh, I guess I should have adjusted the camera first. I can't see anything. Where's my camera? See, it's all glowy and stuff. When I actually finish it, it's not going to be glowing different colors. It's going to be purple, and we might install a red setting. I don't know yet. And that's how it looks. I can't see anything. Like, I can see some shapes and stuff, but if I were to try to navigate around, I probably won't be able to see. There is no back to it right now. The back will house the tubing that I will be putting in because he has, you know, the neck tube, so that's where that's going to go into. So until I make the neck tube, I'm not going to make the back for this, but it stays on my head just fine. I have this chin thing, so that goes right underneath my chin, and that's how it is able to like stick to my head and move around and stuff. I thought it was going to be too big, but it actually fits me perfectly. I don't know how I did that. This is the second helmet I've ever made. So, but yeah, I really like how it came out. And I was going for like that stormtrooper finish. You know how like all the stormtroopers have like plastic finish? That's kind of what I was going for. And it took 2 cans of Plasti Dip, but I was able to get that finish. And it looks, you know, it's not, don't look at it head on because the visor's not in, so it looks like really goofy right now, but it's not like bad. Like, I'm not mad at it. So let's just go ahead and jump into how I made this. Hey friends, so I am just working on the helmet. So I am tracing the pattern. I'm using my big TV to put the pattern against so that I can use that as like a light box. I didn't do a very good job at tracing myself, but this is the general like shape. The front of the helm's probably gonna start about here, and then it like tapers off and does this really cool like pointy thing, and that's gonna end about there because I measured how long I wanted it, and that was 15 inches from the start of my head to like over here. So I just need to make this really big to where it fits within the dimensions that I marked down, and I'm gonna like squiggle it around a little bit and then just trace down the pattern and hopefully turn this into something cool. We'll see what happens. I kind of know what I'm doing, but I also don't know what I'm doing. So here I'm just tracing the outer lines of the pattern just to get the general shape. This art, by the way, is by Kawiku/Kakiwa on DeviantArt. They are really amazing and super talented, so please go check them out. So this is about the right size for my headular. I don't know, the front looks kind of long. I don't know why it looks so long to me. I'm gonna cut it out and see how it looks next to my dang face. Okay, so it seems a little big, but like when it's close to my head, it doesn't look that big. Also, with the amount of armor I'll be wearing, like it probably also like won't look extra big. I don't know. So many months later, I finally start foaming it. So I put the pattern onto the wig head to kind of show the general shape of it and the size and kind of get a gist of how it will look. Here I'm just making a pattern for the ears. I do end up remaking the ear pattern because they need to be a bit bigger. So this is version 1 of the helmet, so don't really pay attention to what I'm doing. I tear apart the pattern and I put that onto the foam. I trace it, cut it out, and start to put it together. I drafted up a pattern for the top of the helmet, so that was kind of like freehanded. And quickly I realized that I hated the top of this. It was twisting, it was getting really gross, had a lot of gaps in it, and just overall I didn't like it. So I tore that apart, put it in my spare foam bin, and back to square one. I create a template from thick paper. These are actually spare hanging folders that I wasn't using. I steal the metal hanging part of them and I use that for internal support in the helmet. I just trace the patterns onto the folders, cut them out, and tape them together. And then I can draft up the top of the helmet that won't make it all like gross and twisty and stuff.
And I'm still recording. I've been literally filming this whole time.
So this is the helmet out of paper. I adjusted it a bit to get the right size and let it fit my head. Next, I tear it apart at the taped sides and use that for my new pattern to put onto foam. For the visor, I use clear Warbler. I struggle with the clear Warbler quite a bit. Stop it. I heat it up to get it to lay flat. Next, I trace around the visor pattern, making sure that there's plenty of room to glue it to the inside of the helmet, and I cut it out. You can easily cut clear Warbler with scissors. Overall, I love working with clear Warbler. It's wonderful. Next, I just plop the pattern onto some foam, trace it, and cut it out. I'm not beveling any of the edges. Everything is a non-angled edge, so just a straight cut. I think that was my issue with the first rendition. I beveled the edges on that and it made it all weird. Then I just start gluing the pieces together the same way that they were taped. Yes, I'm still using hot glue. I love hot glue. It's wonderful. It's looking so much better this time. Now I'm just cutting out the side pieces that connect the bottom of the helmet to the top, and I'm gluing them into place. Once those are glued into place, I glue on the metal rods that I stole off the hanging folders, and that's just for support because without it, it was like flopping all over the place. It was not a fun time. Next, I sand all the edges to reduce any weird gaps or bumps. I start with a 120 grit sanding band and I go down to 240. Then I just go over with some hand sanding with 320 grit all the way up to 600. Next, I fill any of the seams with quick seal. After letting that dry, I take some masking tape and I mask around the bottom of the helmet to make a pattern for a raised piece, little decoration thing that I'll be adding on, and then I will be cutting that out of 4mm foam. I use a pencil at first to get a perfect pattern. I use my ruler as well to make sure everything's even, and then I go over it once more with a Sharpie. I carefully remove the tape, and then I place it onto a large piece of patterning paper. I'm not sure what I'm measuring here, but I apparently thought that it was imperative to measure how long this piece is. I have no idea how long it is. I don't know why I measured it, but I measured it. Then I place that pattern onto 4mm foam, pin it down, trace it, and cut it out. I use a ruler to keep my cuts straight. Then I attach that piece onto the helmet with hot glue. I do the same thing with the top. The art doesn't really show any detailing on top of the helmet, so I kind of just do my own thing. It's simple, but it's better than just having a flat top when it comes to putting this into a costume. Sebastian, I hear you crying. What are you crying about? Then I carefully remove the tape, put it onto patterning paper, cut it out, and put it on 2mm foam. And then I glue it to the top of the helmet. I also pattern out these little side plate things just for some extra detailing. They look like they're there in the art, so I plop those on as well. To mimic more metal plating, I cut lines into the foam, but not all the way through. Careful, do not go all the way through when you're doing this. But it is deep enough to where when I heat it up, it'll open up the foam and create a cool like detailing. And here you can see the foam opening up with the application of heat. This can be used to do so many cool things and detailing, and it's really satisfying to watch. Next, I use my 240 bit to smoothen out the edges of the helmet and sand the quick sealed areas. Next, I get to make the ears. So I made a new pattern. They're a lot bigger, as you can tell, and I cut it out of 8mm foam. I'm not going to attach them. Guys, you're running around being crazy. I'm not going to attach them yet. I will prime them separately and then glue them to the helmet once everything's primed. I don't like how chunky they looked, so I did sand the top of each ear to a point. I heated them up to get that curve, and I bent each one out, and then the foam just stays like that. To get the sharp edges, I hold my Dremel at an angle and sand it with my 240 bit until it gets to a point, and I make sure to sand each side going back and forth. I then heat up the helmet to seal the foam and get rid of any weird fuzzies. Next, I need to close the helmet, so I taped the bottom where my chin will rest, and as well as the top pointy thing. I Sharpie on a pattern, so when I'm doing this, I'm trying it on and making sure that like my neck perfectly curves around the chin area. Put it onto patterning paper and cut each piece out of 6mm foam. I then glue the pieces into place. After that, I get to start priming it. I'm using white Plasti Dip for this since all the armor will be white. It'll just be way easier when it comes to painting. I am doing this in my well-ventilated craft room. My windows are open and I have fans going, and I'm using a respirator, so please be careful whilst using any spray indoors. So this took me an entire weekend. I did several layers and let each layer dry completely, and then sanded it with a 600 grit sandpaper in between each layer. And then I made sure to use my air compressor and my air compressor hose to spray off any dust. So yes, it took a very long time to build up to that wonderful plasticky look I have on the helmet right now, but it is super worth it. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but it took 2 cans of Plasti Dip. So for the visor, I placed a hexagon stencil over the clear Warbler and I sprayed it with the glass fog spray. It worked really well, but I ended up sanding it all off and redoing it anyway. So when I redid it, I used my heat gun on the stencil and the Warbler, and then I pressed it and it helped it stick to the Warbler even better and created a better seal to prevent seepage, leaking. I really hate both of those words, so bleeding. I think that's what I'm going for. Bleeding. And then I just glued the ears on with some hot glue, and that's really it. That's all I did. That's the helmet. It's not done yet, and I will update as I keep working on it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to my patrons Adam Hunt, Anime Crush, Blue Panda, Brian, Catastra Kitten, David Rosenbaum, Eric, Helvigan, Jenny Lynn, Jim W, Kalika Kaiser, Logan Don Carlos, Malice Murden, Nathan M, Ninja Rookie, Nanaman, Rob Thompson, Robert Gallardo, Sakura, and Veldemir. Thank you guys so much. Have a super awesome rest of the day, and I will see you guys later. Bye. Look who came to say hello. Look at the small little bean. Hi, Bean. You want to say hello? Huh? Do you want to say hello? She's like, yes, hello. Do you have an Instagram account? Yes, you do. Someone else has an Instagram account too. Who wants to come say hello too? One of you guys knocked over one of my cacti. Who was it, huh? Was it you? It's okay. I can just sweep it up.